All right, today I'm going to show you how to roll a slab by hand. So we have a couple tools here. I have my clay. I have a rib tool, which we can use this to smooth the surface of the clay. I have a rolling pin. These are my favorite. They just control the clay really well. If you ever see one that's beveled or has a bigger middle than a edge, you have to be a little more careful with those. These keep it nice and consistent. And then I have what I like to call the train tracks. They're just sticks, and they come in a variety of thicknesses. So if you take a look, I'm going to try and match them up here. These are all different thicknesses. So depending on what you're doing with your slab, you might want different thicknesses. This middle one, this is probably about 1/8 of an inch thin. This is usually way too thin to work with slab because it's not going to have enough structure. It's going to be very, very thin and frail. So I'm going to take these and put them away. What I would recommend is the one that's about 1/4 inch, which is what these two are, or about 1/2 inch, which is what these two are. 1/2 inch is good if you're going to do a lot of carving and texture or a lot of molding with it. The 1/4 inch is better if you want something that's a little bit lighter and you're not going to do a lot of carving into it on the surface. I'm going to go with the 1/4 inch just because it's what I prefer to work with. And the point of these sticks is to keep my slab all a consistent height all the way through. So I'm going to put them down. These are the train tracks, and the rolling pin is my train. So I have to make sure that the train tracks are always under the choo-choo train. All right, so I have my chunk of clay. This is way more than I need for what I'm doing, but you want to think about what you're creating before rolling your slab. If you're making a big bowl, you might need a chunk of clay this big. So if you just start with a tiny piece, you're not going to be able to create the whole form out of that slab. All right, I've got my clay. I'm setting this in the middle. And now what I can do is start rolling with the rolling pin. Now if you notice, I was just pushing away from me, so top to bottom, and the clay really only moved in that direction. So if I'm trying to make a big circle or a square, I'm going to have to repeatedly turn the clay. You'll see now it'll start to roll in that direction. The clay also becomes stuck to the table, so it's a really good habit to get in to keep flipping it as you go. So I'm going to roll a little more. Sometimes you might have to move your sticks a little bit wider. Just make sure the rolling pin is always over the top. Okay, so I'm going to continue, and you're going to keep doing this process until you notice that the clay is not moving anymore. That means it'll be the same thickness as the sticks or the train tracks. Okay, so I'm flipping mine again. In this case, I can have a really long slab. It doesn't have to be perfectly round. So I'm going to just keep going. Now, sometimes along the way, you'll get these little marks. You might see right there, there's a little kind of raised part. What that is an air bubble. Sometimes you'll find air bubbles as you do this, and if you do, you just want to take a needle tool, poke it a couple times, and press out any air you might have. This is to make sure that it doesn't explode in the kiln. If you're not sure if you got it, the rib is a really nice tool to go smooth to get all of that air right out. All right, so I'm going to do one more round to finish this slab up. Now if you notice, the clay is not really moving anymore, and that means it's all the same thickness as this stick. So just to show you, I'm going to cut a little piece off. You can see all the way through it's about the same thickness as this stick. So that means I'm ready to work with it. Remember, the rib is a really nice tool to smooth out the surface. That's just a nice habit to get in because it makes it a little bit neater before you move on and use it for your next thing. So that's making a slab.